All right, guys, how are you guys? Hope everybody is doing well. We're going to get started now. Today's class is about listing agreements. Okay, so I'm going to go over how to do listing agreements and how to input the information into the MLS for your listings and everything. Okay, so first off, okay, so everybody's muted, guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask me, or you can put it in the chat and then I can go over the questions. Okay. Um, all right. So first things first. Whenever you're doing a listing agreement, what you're gonna need is, of course, comparables, right? So you're gonna speak to a client. Client's gonna come to you and tell you, hey, I'm interested in selling my property or renting my property. What be it? And we need to make sure that we're going to list this property at a good market value. Okay. Most of the times, the market value that's going to be listed is going to be what we're going to list it at is a little bit above the market value, just because as a realtor, we all know that nobody puts their best foot forward when they first put offers. So if your client's looking for, let's say, a sale of your house and they want a price of at least 350, um, us putting the listing at 350, we know that we're going to get offers that are lower than that. So if we put it at like 360 or 375, we may get offers that are close to that 350 range that they're interested in, right? But we want to make sure that the property is worth what your client wants, right? So let's say we're going to do a listing for a sale, okay?
Albert, good morning. Jesús Lara, ¿cómo estás?
Hey, good morning, muy bien.
Sir, this class is English only or both English and Spanish?
English only.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
Okay,
you.
no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward, if we're gonna do the comparables, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna go first to where to go here? Hold on. We're gonna go to matrix, okay? And in our matrix, we're going to go to the search field, and then we're gonna go to RE1, RE2, which is basically the sales tab, okay? So when we get there, we want to do comparables within the area of where the property is located. The property is not going to be, sorry guys, the property is not going to be in the MLS already, right? Because it hasn't been listed. So we want to see what's been in the MLS, what is selling, what has sold around that area. Okay, so what we're going to use is this area right here where it says map search. And we're going to change this to 0.50, okay? Then here, we're going to put the address of the property, okay? So as we start writing the address, I'm going to use my address right now. As I start writing in the address, you'll see a box will show up right underneath, okay? And it says, did you mean? Yes, this is the address that I want. So I'm going to click on it, okay? And I'm going to remove where it says active, because I'm not looking for what's actively selling. I'm looking for what recently closed and what's pending at the moment, okay? And if you notice, once I check these two, it's going to tell me that I have 18 matches within half a mile of this address, okay? But I want to make sure that it's understood that what I'm looking for is a specific type of property, okay? So I'm going to click here where it says condo townhouse, because what I have is a townhouse, okay? And it'll say 15 matches, okay? Then I'm going to say, okay, it's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, okay? And you'll notice it goes to 5 matches, okay? So 5 matches is pretty decent. I would like to have a little more than 5 matches, but because I live in a community right now, and this is where there's only townhouses, I know that I can't search any further. Like I know where I live. So if I go mile, it's gonna go up two more because the community is at least a mile. But if I go 2 miles, it's gonna start getting from other communities, right? And what I need is what's closest to my community. That is the best type of comparable you can get. Okay, most comparables will not go more than 2 miles. They're gonna stay within a mile of the area. Okay, so within a mile of the area, we're gonna have 7. Okay, not bad. So I'm gonna click on results, and when I click on results, it's gonna give me that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that have recently closed, and 1 that is currently pending. Okay, my community is called Marina Real, so this one right here is most likely these right here are the most what should I say, the closest to my comparables. Okay, so I got this one that's pending. I can check off that one. I have this one that's sold. This is another one that's sold. You'll notice that this is within 0 miles of the property I searched for, 0.1, 0.1. I mean, it is literally right next to my property, right? And sure, I can show these two. That's fine. Let's not go with these. Let's go with this one. And Puerto Bello is very close as well. So if you notice, the ones that are within a mile, I didn't select, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I can do one of 2 things. If I want to give my client a very good report, a very detailed report, I can click on CMA. And if I click on CMA, then it's gonna take me to the CMA page, and I'll be able to create a report for my client, okay? Where it says pages, I usually take off the one with the photo because I may not have a photo of the property, but it'll be cover sheet, summary list, price adjustments, list price and sale price charts. I can take off price adjustment because that doesn't really say anything. CMA briefing, pro report, pricing recommendation, and a map, right? So I'll have 7 pages in my CMA. When I click in subject, I can say type subject property manually. So I click there, and then here I can start, putting everything manually. Okay. It should be this. All right, and let's rename this. Wait, sorry. Northwest here. 123rd Court. This unit 4, if it has a unit. City name, Miami, zip code 33182. So you're just gonna put in everything, okay? Miami-Dade, as much as you can. If you have a photo, you can upload a photo. If you don't, no worries. Okay, subdivision, Marina Real. Okay, the features, baths total, it has 3, 2 beds, 2 full baths, 1 half bath, pool, no. I'm sorry. Stories, 2 stories. Okay. So as much as you can fill in, that's great. It's going to give you some information. Square foot total is 1301. Total acreage, less than 1/4 acres. Okay, days on market, don't worry about it. Year bill, 1995. I mean, whatever information you put it here, okay? Then you're gonna go here to this map location. You're gonna click locate, and you're gonna put the address, okay? Once you put the address, you're gonna press locate. The system will automatically locate and pinpoint that property, okay? You're gonna press done. And now you're just gonna move to the next tab, which is the cover page, okay? Here we'll put whatever contact information you want for the client, okay? It'll have your agent information here, and it would have put the photo if you have the photo of the subject property, okay? Now you're gonna go to comparables. It's gonna automatically pick up the 5 that we have gotten from the beginning, from the start, right? The comparables we picked. Just check them off, click on map, and now you're gonna see all the properties within that area that are being compared. Okay, it's got the subject property, And then it's got the other properties which have been sold or are pending. And once you go to adjustments, that we're not going to have there, then we're going to go to pricing. Okay, and in pricing, here we can suggest the price that we want, right? It's going to tell us the lowest price that's sold is 240, the medium price is 273, average is 267, and the highest is 283. So really, we're going to tell them, look, sir, we can sell anywhere from 267 to 283. Okay. If you want to go on the height, right here, once you click it, it erases what it says, and we can write whatever we want. My suggestion is that we can list property at 280,000. Sorry, 280K, and expect a sale of between 265 and 275. Okay, let's just say it. Obviously, you're gonna do that depending on what the property looks like, right? This is what this one looks like. This is what this one looks like interiorly. So obviously, if there's one that's higher priced and it's better remodeled inside, then your subject property isn't going to go for such a high price, right? So once we finish that and putting that in, we're going to click finish, right? And then we can see the report. Let's click on view report, and this is what your client, what it's going to look like.
Hi, Albert. I have a question.
Yes.
This is not to add a listing. This is only for the CMA, right?
Right, but before you add a listing, you have to make sure you know the price and everything that you're going to list.
Yeah,
it. So,
I just want that it's not like integrated and it does both at the same time.
Oh, okay. No, it doesn't. This is strictly the CMA.
Okay.
And then once you finish doing, because right where I'm going with this is, then you're gonna sit down with the owner and this report, and you guys will come up with a list price. And once you come up with the list price, then we could start doing the listing agreement and get everything signed. And I'll show you how to do that next.
Understood. Alrighty, thank you.
So this is what the CMA is gonna look like. Okay, it'll be a report like this. If you had the picture, it's gonna show the picture here. It's gonna tell you the subject property here. And then you'll notice that this report just starts giving you the summary of the comparables, right? It's gonna give you the adjusted prices. It will do like a small graph. This is just to, show your client that, hey, here's a nice report, to show you where we're at with the pricing, okay? This will definitely open your client's eyes and show professionalism on your part so that they see that we have done the research. These aren't appraisals, they're just comparative market analysis, but it'll show that we've done the research in the area, and the pricing that we suggest is, a very good price based on what the research that we've done, okay? It'll be able to tell us here the properties, okay? It'll give us a look at what the other properties that sold look like, just like the first page, but it'll give us a good idea. And if we keep scrolling down, here you're gonna see the sale prices of the closed sale prices. This is just the pending property. There's only one, so you're only gonna see one graph. The more you have, the better this is gonna look, obviously. But then here it's going to give you a great average, okay? It's going to tell you lowest price, highest price, the average price, and then it'll give you an average per square foot, okay? So this is a good way to figure out what the price range we should be looking for is going to get. Okay, 217, and this is the average square, your square footage of your property is 1,300, then we can expect to get, whatever that calculation is. Okay, we're gonna see here also the averages of what sold, what it listed for, where it sold, and the discount percentage that's selling in this area. Okay, so very low discount here. Most of them are, at a low price, you're gonna see that they're selling at 100%. Once we get to the 275, it goes about 3.5% of a discount, right? 285 kind of stays within the 3.5 discount. But you'll notice here that the 97%, almost 98%, this area is only getting about a 2% discount. So anything less than a 2% discount, we can essentially tell the buyers, hey, look, we're looking for more, and the market supports that value. Okay, so that's a good way of reading this and explaining to your client that, you know, this is where we should place our number. And you'll notice here where it says pricing recommendation, it's a whole separate page, and it'll write, my suggestion is we can list the property at 280K and expect the sale between the, whatever you write here, it's going to show up, and it's going to show up, you know, very professional. Obviously, I did this very quickly, but the more you write here, the better. If you want to write a nice paragraph, or you want to make it look, you know, like even more compelling, the more you write, the better it's going to look, right? So you're going to take this with your to your client, okay, with a listing agreement, so that if they are comfortable and they're ready to go with the price range that you set, they can sign it. Okay, so let me show you what a listing agreement is going to look like. But before I continue on that, does anybody have any questions on how to pull up this CMA report? Okay, cool. All right, so in order to to get a listing agreement, okay, we need to go through Form Simplicity, okay? Form Simplicity, if you guys have seen my classes before, you can go in the first page, the actual, once you log into Matrix, you can go to Form Simplicity right here. They changed the logo, so it used to be gray with some papers. Now it's white and green, okay? So you can click on it from right here, and it's going to take you directly to Form Simplicity. All right. So we're going to start a new transaction, okay? Because this is an entirely new listing that we're going to do. So we're just going to click here where it says start a new transaction, and then it's going to give us this screen, okay? We're going to put in the address of the property. With this one, same one. Okay. What type of property is it? It's a residential. We can click here on this check mark where it says same as address. Okay, and it's going to save the file under the address here. Or we can put whatever name. Okay, if you want to put listing for, I don't know, Denise's house. I don't know who Denise is. I just put that name. Hold on. Listing for Denise's house. Okay. And then down here in transaction type, we're just going to put listing. Okay. So at this point, we're just going to click on this button here once we put it in, and just click on create transaction. Okay. Once we create transaction, it's going to take us to this page. This is the page where we're going to upload the documents that we need for the listing. Okay, we're going to click on where it says add blank forms. Okay, and here we're just going to put the word listing. Sorry.
Albert, I'm sorry. I have another question.
Yeah.
The comparables, sorry, they can also be done for condos and apartments. Same thing, same way.
Yes. So the one that I just did was was for a condo townhouse.
Perfect.
When you do it for a house, you just have to make sure that in the actual search page, when you're doing when you put the property address here, you have to make sure in type of property you're clicking single family.
Perfect. Alrighty, okay. Thank you.
For single family. You're welcome. Okay, so just put the word right, okay, because sometimes it doesn't put up. But if you put the word right, you're gonna see the one you're gonna see an exclusive right of sale listing agreement for commercial property, you're going to see exclusive right of sale, listing, no brokerage, exclusive right of sale, consent to transaction. Guys, we are always a transaction broker. So the one we're going to select is this one, which says exclusive right of sale listing agreement, transaction broker. Okay, so we click add to transaction, and then it's going to show up right here. Okay, now depending the type of listing that you're going to do, there's a few documents that you may need. Okay, if the property was built before 1978, then we need a lead-based paint disclosure as well. Okay, if it was not built before 1978, then you do not need that. Okay, in this case, this property was not built before 1978, so we don't need it. But in the case that it was, this is the form that you're going to use. Complying with lead-based paint licensing notice to seller or landlord. So whether you're renting or selling, this has to be included in the listing agreement if the property was built before 1978. Okay. So I'm just going to put it now so you guys can see it in the transaction. Okay, even though this property doesn't need it, but I'm going to let you see what it looks like. Okay, and then the other document that's extremely important whenever you're selling is the seller's disclosure. Okay, you'll see one that says seller's property disclosure condominium or seller's property disclosure residential. This is usually for single family homes, and this is for condos. Okay, so because this is a condo townhouse, I'm going to use this one. Okay, so those are the three documents that you're going to need in order to list this property, and all three of them need to be signed by the seller. Okay, obviously, again, we're going to go back to the lead-based paint only if it was built prior to 1978, but I just want you to see what it looks like. Okay, so give me 1 second. My dog's going crazy here. Hold on a second. Okay, so this is what the listing agreement looks like. Okay, it is a total of 4 pages. Okay, I'm gonna go through it so you guys see exactly what it is you guys need to fill out and the reason why you're filling it out. Okay, I always recommend any contract that you guys are gonna fill out, please print it out, read it, understand the reason why you're filling it out. Okay, I can teach my son how to fill this document out, and he's 10 years old, and he'll understand it by memory, but he won't understand exactly why he's doing it. Okay, so I do recommend you guys print it out, read it, understand why you're filling what you're filling out, so that this way, whenever the client asks you a question on, hey, section 3, I don't understand why I'm signing this part of it. That way you'll be able to explain it. Okay, so the first part is going to ask you who the seller is and who the broker is. The seller is obviously the owner of the property. Okay, I'm just going to put this person's name here, autofilled, no big deal. That's not really the owner of the property. How do you find out the owner of the property? Well, the easiest way is going to miami-dade.gov. Okay, when you go to miami-dade.gov, there's a property search area, and the property search area looks like this. Okay, you're just going to put in the address of the property. Okay, once you put in the address of the property, it's going to tell you who the owner is. Okay, and at this point, you just need to copy this name, and then you can just go directly to your listing agreement and put their name here where it says seller. Okay, so this is the property owner's name. If it's a company, you're going to put the company. If it's 2 names, you're going to put both names. If it's 3 names, you're going to put 3 names. If it's a trust, you're going to put the name of the trust. The name of the owner can be a bunch of different things. Okay, it all depends on how it's recorded in the county. Okay, and then the broker obviously is us, right? Real Estate Empire Group. So then it goes to number 1, the authority to sell. It says the seller gives the broker exclusive right to sell the real and personal property described below. Okay, and it starts beginning on here. You're gonna put the date that you're going to put up the listing. Okay, if the listing is going to be put up today's date, today's the 13th, we're going to click on October 13th. And how long is it going to last? Is it going to last 3 months? Is it going to last 6 months? If it's going to last 3 months, November, December, January, right? I always go to the last day of the month of whatever month it's supposed to expire, right? So if this is 3 months, I'm kind of getting 3.5 months here, but
3 months is like the usual amount of time, right?
I mean, 3 months is a pretty basic time. 6 months is the most usual amount of time, but you should be able to sell it within 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to go 6 months, go 6 months just to be on the safe side. But I don't think it's gonna. None of the listings that I've done have lasted more than 2 months.
Gotcha. And well, okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Okay. So it just says, upon full execution of a contract for sale and purchase of the property, all rights and obligations of this agreement will automatically extend through the date of actual closing of the sales contract. Okay, what does that mean? That means that even if we have an executed contract, this listing agreement is still in place. Okay, so if anything happens throughout that time we're in contract, where the contract gets canceled, or something happens, but the client still wants to list his property, this is still in place. We don't have to do a new listing just because we got a contract. Okay, this listing will expire or will cease to exist once we have a contract and the property closes. Okay, that's exactly what this says. Seller and broker acknowledge that this agreement does not guarantee a sale. Okay, the property will be offered to any person without regard to race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, or any other protected federal, state, or local law, right? Fair Housing Act. Okay, we have to disclose everything, and we cannot decide, okay, we're going to sell it to this person and not this person because of their age, because of their sex, because of their color. No, everybody who wants to be able to see the property, we are going to allow for them to see the property and make offers. Okay. Seller certifies and represents that he is legally entitled to convey the property and all its improvements. Okay, so if we're selling the property, then we have to make sure that the seller is legally obligated to sell this property. Okay, I cannot sell a property for my mother-in-law or my father-in-law because I am not legally represented in the deed as a owner of the property. That's basically what it says there. Okay, whoever's selling the property, whoever's signing this contract needs to be the owner of the actual property. Okay. Then number 2 talks about description of property. The description of property is the address of the property, right? So we put here whatever the address is. Okay, legal description. Where do we find the legal description? The legal description is also going to be found in miamidade.gov. Okay, so if we click on the folio number and we go down, you'll see a section here that says full legal description. Okay, you can copy paste, so you can just copy paste, but you can't copy paste everything at the same time because there's just a certain amount of lines, right? So paste, I got up to there, then I can go back and get 2 more lines. Sorry, I can get these 3 lines. And go down here and paste. Okay, see, if it's too big, it won't allow me to paste it. So let's just get these 2 lines. Copy and paste. Okay, so if you can't get everything, that's perfectly fine. Just get as much as you possibly can from that legal line and put it there. The legal description only allows you to put a certain amount of characters, and that's fine. Okay. Personal property. What is included in this property, right? What appliances are included, right? List all the appliances that are included in the property sale. Okay, refrigerator, washer, dryer, stove, central AC, water heater, whatever else is included, right? Microwave, if you want to put microwave, whatever is not included, do not put it on this listing agreement, right? If your client tells you, hey, I'm going to sell my property, but I'm not selling the washer and dryer because I paid a lot of money for that washer and dryer and I really like it. So I'm not selling that. So just make sure here you include what is included in the sale and make sure you're not putting what is not included. Okay. Occupancy. Occupancy is who is living in the property at the moment. Okay. This is saying property is not currently occupied by a tenant. Okay. Is the owner of the property considered a tenant? No. The owner of the property is considered the owner. This is not talking about an owner. It's only talking about a tenant. So if there is a tenant there, somebody renting the property, then you do have to select is occupied by a tenant and place the date that the tenant will be leaving the premises. Okay. If it's not occupied by somebody renting the property, then you're going to select this one. Okay. If it's occupied by the owner, you're going to select this one, that it's not a tenant. Okay. So owner would be this one, or vacant would be this one. Okay. This one is only if it is a tenant, somebody renting the property. Okay. And then make sure you put whatever date the lease term expires. Okay. Now we get into pricing. Price terms. The property is offered for sale in the following terms or other terms acceptable to seller. What is the price? This is the listing price. This is the amount that we're going to put it in the MLS for. Okay, so in this case, we sat down with the owner. We showed him the comparables. We went over the comparables and we decided we're going to list this property at $272,599. Okay, that's what the owner's happy with. That's perfectly fine. $272,599. Okay. Then it's going to say what financing terms. Okay. We have to know what financing terms are accepted in this community. Okay. Usually condos have restrictions on the type of loan that can be accepted. Okay. Can they accept FHA? Some of them can. This one in particular does accept FHA because the property is considered lot and block. Okay. Well, here it doesn't say it, but they do consider this property an FHA property. It was purchased prior to this property, or by the one I'm living at was purchased with an FHA, so I can select FHA. If you're not sure, go to the association, talk to the association, ask them if they will accept any loan lower than 20% or any loan lower than 10%. Get your information before you put it up, okay? Or speak to the owner. Maybe the owner knows, right? Cash is always accepted, so you should always select cash. Conventional, definitely. And if it accepts FHA or VA, you're going to accept those. You're going to check those off. If they don't accept those, then you don't check it off, okay? Seller financing. This is if your seller decides he's going to allow seller financing, meaning, hey, I will take on a loan for them to purchase this property as long as they give me X amount of money down, okay? And that means you can just check that off with the following terms. Let's say he 25% down, 25% down payment. Okay, so the seller is basically saying, I will allow for seller financing in the amount of $250,000, okay, as long as they're going to give 25% down payment. Okay, if they're not going to do seller financing, then you don't have to put that in, but it does give you the option. Okay, that would be more or less for properties that, you know, are going in the very high spectrum, you know, $500,000, $600,000, and your client can only qualify for $400,000, but the seller is willing to give, you know, up to $150,000 in seller financing as long as they give X amount down. Okay. Assumption of mortgage. If he's allowing an assumption of the existing mortgage for the purchase, check that off. And then here, just explain what it would be. Buyer may assume the mortgage for whatever the mortgage is right now, plus an assumption fee of, you know, whatever the assumption fee the client wants to accept. Okay, a mortgage is for a term of how many years at this point, and this is what the interest is right now at a fixed rate. At a variable rate, the owner would have to tell you what type of mortgage they have. Okay, obviously lender approval of assumption is required. And then here it's going to give you some information on if you select that option. Okay, seller expenses. Seller is willing to give closing costs. Seller says, hey, if we sell the property at, you know, what I'm asking for, I'm willing to give them, you know, 1% in closing costs, right? Which in this case would be $2,700, give or take. Okay, or 2%, which would now be $5,400, right? So it all depends on if the seller is willing to give any closing costs or not. Okay. Broker obligations. Broker agrees to make diligent and continued efforts to sell the property in accordance with this agreement, right? So what this agreement says, the broker is guaranteeing the buyer that we're going to do everything possible to make sure we sell this property based on these terms. Okay. Number 5 talks about the MLS. We will be placing this property in the MLS, okay? And this MLS is going to be sent out to a bunch of different realtors. It's going to be on the internet. It's going to be placed in other internet or in other websites. And so all the information on this property that we're putting, we're going to get as many eyes as possible to see this property, okay? Broker authority, okay? Seller authorizes broker to, this is what the broker is allowed to do with the property. Market the property to the public, okay? Put it on the MLS, and it goes on Zillow and Realtor.com and all those other websites, okay? Public marketing also includes marketing property to real estate agents outside the broker's office, which basically means putting it in the MLS, right? Place appropriate transaction sites on the property, unless the client doesn't want to. If it's a for sale and we ask the client, hey, can we put a for sale sign in front of your house? And he says yes, perfect, we can do that. If he says no, we cannot do that. Use the seller's name in connection with the property. Sellers, I usually don't put their names on it. Just the address is perfectly fine, okay? This, if the client says, I don't want my address, you know, displayed on websites, if we click this, we cannot display the address on websites. Okay, and there's a way in the listing that we can select if you want the property address to be on websites or not. Okay, but normally you don't select that. The address usually, if you go on Zillow.com, it'll put the address, right? Whenever you check for property. Okay. Seller understands and acknowledges that if he checks option 6 for the for sale sign will not be placed on the property, and the seller understands and acknowledges that seller checks option 6, broker will be limited to marketing the property only to agents within the property. So number 6, B1, which is this one, okay, B1, seller does not authorize broker to display property on MLS. That means we cannot put it on the MLS. We can still list it, but we can only list it within our office to our agents. That's it, right? So our agents cannot advertise it in Zillow or cannot advertise it in websites or in Craigslist or in Facebook, because this is not authorizing us only to do it within our company. Okay. Obtain information relating to the present mortgages on the property. We need to do that. Provide objective comparative market analysis to the potential buyers. So if there's any buyer that's interested, we can show them comparables on why we listed that property at that price. Use a lockbox. The client is not living in the property and there's no one in the property and the owner allows us to use a lockbox. We need to check this off saying that the owner has allowed us to use the lockbox. Withhold verbal offers, okay? That's up to the client. If the client wants to hear verbal offers, we don't need to check that off, okay? If they want to withhold verbal offers, we can check that off. And, you know, if anybody comes in with a verbal offer, hey, we don't have to release that to the client, okay? I usually check this one off, withhold all offers. once seller accepts the sales contract, unless the client says he wants to take backup offers too, in case that first offer doesn't go through. Right now, with everything that's going on with coronavirus and everything, it would be a good idea to accept backup offers, because there's a lot of changes in the lending, and we're trying to find verification of income with clients because they've lost their jobs or they've been furloughed, and then the contract can fall. So I usually check it off on a good market. And an unstable market right now, I don't check them off. Okay. Virtual websites. Some real estate brokerages offer virtual websites, services online. These are websites referred to as virtual offices. Conversion, for instance, is a virtual office website, right? What it will do, if we put that information in there, it'll automatically send our client postcards. It'll send them things that may want to change his mind. But along with that, not just us, but other agents, if we give them authorization to advertise, they can put it in their virtual websites, and those agents' virtual websites are going to start sending our client information, right? So I usually check this off saying that we don't authorize any virtual office websites, and we don't authorize third parties to write comments or reviews on the listing. Because if they go into Zillow, and let's say there are properties in Zillow and it's somebody that lives in the same community, they can put a note or a comment on that picture and say, oh, I live in this community and the association is the worst association ever. And that will negatively impact our listing. So we don't want to have any third-party comments on our or reviews on our listings, okay? All right, seller obligations. So we've gone over what the broker needs to do. This is the seller obligations, okay? In consideration of broker's obligation, seller agrees to cooperate with broker in carrying out the purpose of this agreement, okay? Including referring immediately to broker all inquiries regarding the property's transfer, okay? Which means if we have this listing and we are exclusively rights to sell, and the owner says, hey, I received a family member of mine called me that they heard that they're interested in the property and I'm going to sell it to them. Okay, that's fine, but we still have the exclusive right to list this property. So they cannot just sell it on their own and not pay us commission. They have to send that client to us, and then we have to do all the paperwork. That's what that basically says. Okay, so there you are going to get a lot of clients that say, hey, if I find my own client, then I'm not going to pay you commission, or I'm only going to pay you half the commission. Okay, that's perfectly fine. We can negotiate on that half commission if he finds his own client. But regardless, this listing does state that they have to pay us commission regardless if they find their own client or not. Okay. So if anybody goes to the house, sees the sign for sale, and knocks on the door, hey, sure, I'll show you the property, but you need to get in contact with my realtor. Okay. Recognized broker may be subject to additional MLS obligations and penalties for failure to comply with them. Whatever documentation we need to be able to place this up in the MLS, we have to make sure we have, right? Which includes listing agreements, seller's disclosure, lead-based paint disclosure, all those documents that we know we need from our client, okay? Inform the broker before leasing, mortgaging, or otherwise encumbering the property. If we're gonna sell this property, right? And the buyer says, I wanna purchase another property, so I'm gonna put a line of credit on this property, they need to let us know that they're doing that, okay? We're not gonna tell them no. You know, they can do whatever they want, it's still their property, but whatever they do on that property, they need to advise us, okay? If we're renting that property and that property is vacant, I'm sorry, if we're selling that property and that property is vacant, and all of a sudden a family member needs a place to live and he says, hey, I'm gonna allow my family member to stay here in the meantime, they have to let us know so that we can update the listing and advise anybody that's going to see the property now, hey, it's currently being rented, but that person is gonna move out if the property sells, whatever it is, right? But they cannot do anything to that property once we've signed this agreement and not let us know. Okay? Okay. Indemnified broker or hold harmless for any damages or costs or expenses or anything like that due to negligence, misrepresentations, use of a lockbox, undisclosed material facts, right? The owner of the property needs to give us all the information of that property. You know, when was the last time the roof was closed? That's in the seller, or the roof was fixed. That's in the seller's disclosure. Do you have any loans on this property? Do you have any liens on this property? Are there any special assessments? They have to let us know, right? If we put a lockbox and we have a lockbox there and the lockbox gets broken into, they cannot hold us accountable because they're giving us authorization to put a lockbox. So they understand the risk that they're taking if there's a lockbox in the property. Okay. A court arbitration decision that a broker was not compensated in connection with. So if they don't want to pay us commission and we take them to court and the court says, yeah, you have to pay commission, they have to pay commission. They have to agree that, you know, and they're not going to hold us accountable or charge us for any lawyer fees or anything like that. Okay. Perform any act reasonable necessary with FERPTA. Basically, that's if the property is being sold by somebody who's not a U.S. citizen or paying taxes in the United States, we need to get the information on that. Usually, most of the time, we can go to an accountant and they'll give us, you know, the rules that we need to follow, right? Make all legally required disclosures, including material facts that may affect the property's value, things that are observable or known by the buyer, we have to allow, okay? And then here we're going to put see seller's property disclosure statement, okay? Because that is what's going to tell us what we know about those properties, right? See code violations, defects, okay? Seller will immediately inform broker of any material facts that arise after signing this agreement. We sign this agreement, and a month from now, there's a hurricane, and it, you know, they try and protect it, but 2 windows break. Hey, Mr. Agent, Mrs. Agent, 2 of my windows broke, and I'm gonna fix it, but right now they're broken. We need to know this information, okay? Hey, I just received notice that they're putting a lien on my property because I forgot to pay my taxes in 2018 and I didn't realize it. They need to let us know, okay? Number 8 talks about compensation, our commission, okay? What we're gonna place here is seller will compensate the broker as specified, okay? What we're going to select here is 6%. That is the normal fee for any sale, okay? You will see people put 5%. That is a discounted fee on sales, okay? You will get clients that are going to tell you, oh, you know what? I can go with X person that's only going to charge me 5%. I basically tell them one thing, and I've learned this from my years in real estate. You know, Mr. Customer, if you want to go with a discount realtor and get 5%, it's completely up to you. Just understand that I work very hard and I will continue to work very hard for you. And knowing that I am going to get you the price that you want and not give up on that price, I'm going to earn that 6%. But if you're willing to give, you know, if you're willing to give your deal or this deal to a discount realtor that's going to give you 1% less, understand that they are going to discount the price of your house just as much as they discounted their own commission. So depending on how hard you want your agent to work, you decide who you want to go with. That's basically what I tell them, or I just, you know, swipe right over it and say, hey, this is the commission, it's 6%, plus there's a $395 fee for handling for the property. Is it handling for, you know, in case they come in and do audits, for us to be able to maintain all the paperwork, the processing of everything, there's an additional $395 fee, okay? I just kind of swipe over it. Okay, here's the commission. The commission will be 6%, and you have to pay $395 if the property sells. Moving on. Try and just go over it as quickly as possible. That is standard, guys. 6% is standard, so don't be afraid to talk about saying 6%. Okay. The broker fee is due in the following circumstances. This is how we get paid. Okay. If any interest in the property is transferred, whether by sale, lease, exchange, governmental action, bankruptcy, or any means of any means of transfer, regardless of whether the buyer is secured by seller. Okay. Basically, any way that this property is sold, we need to get paid. Broker needs to get paid. Okay. If the seller refuses or fails to sign an offer with the terms and the price that we have stated in this agreement, or if they default on the executed sales contract, or they agree with the buyer to cancel an executed sales contract, we get paid, right? So we are asking $272,599. We get an offer of $273, and it's a good offer, and the owner decides, forget it, I don't want to do it anymore. They still need to pay us. Okay, they still have to give us commission because we did what the contract states. Okay. Then we have a protection period. Okay. Usually I put 90 days. I have seen people put 180 days. But what this essentially does is protects the broker or us, protects our commission. Okay. In the sense that, let's say we don't put a lockbox on the property, right? And the owner lives in the property, and the owner is the one that's going to, show the property. Hey, Mr. Owner, I have a client that's going to go by today at this time. Can you please show him the property? I unfortunately cannot be there, but I do want to make sure that this client sees your property. Yeah, sure, no problem. Send them over. He goes, shows the property. The guy loves the property. Your owner or the owner of the property loves the client and says, hey, look, let's do something, okay? I'm going to sell this property directly to you. Let's get rid of the agents because we have to give commission to the agents. And, why? Why are we going to give commission? Like, I met you, you met me. We seem to hit it off. We could do this on our own, right? So then he calls you and he says, hey, I want to cancel my listing agreement. Okay, and you say, no problem. We can cancel the listing agreement. The client, there is no cancellation fee. They can cancel at any time. So sure, no problem. We can go ahead and cancel the listing agreement, right? And then 2 weeks later, something like that, we contact that client that we sent to go see the property, just to see, hey, are you still interested in finding properties? And he says, hey, no, that property that you sent me to, I'm buying it. Well, what do you mean you're buying it? Yeah, I spoke to the owner and we worked something out and we're under contract already. Well, guess what? Because we have this 90-day protection and we were the ones that sent that client, they still need to pay us commission, even though they canceled the listing agreement. So that's what this does. Essentially, it protects us from the seller trying to go over our backs or over our heads and selling this property by themselves. Okay. Now, this cancellation or this 90 days does terminate if the seller says, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with your company. You guys haven't been doing what you need to do. So I'm going to cancel my listing and I'm going to go with another broker. And if they go with another broker, then this 90 days no longer exists. Okay, they can now the other broker has the exclusive right of sale and we have nothing towards that property. Okay, so that's what that is. Retain deposits. If there is a deposit for the property that's done, an escrow deposit, the broker will retain 50% of that deposit if the buyer defaults on the transaction. Okay, so if the buyer puts $10,000 in escrow, then the buyer decides I no longer want the property or I messed up, I couldn't get the loan, I never applied for the loan, whatever the buyer's default problem is, and it becomes an issue where who gets the money and it ends up that the seller gets the money, 50% of that money will go to the broker. Okay. Cooperation and compensation with other brokers. Obviously, we're going to be putting this property in the MLS, meaning that other brokers or other agents will be able to see the property and come visit it. So here we're going to share our commission. Okay. I'm going to check off all the ones that have the percentage sign. If it's 6%, 50%. Okay. And this allows us to be able to show this property to other brokers. And if somebody else comes in with an offer, we got to split the commission 3% and 3%. That's what that's stating. The broker will act as a transaction broker, meaning we will deal honestly and fairly. We'll account for all the funds. We'll use skill, care, diligence in the transaction, and disclose all material facts of the property to the buyer. Okay, so we can work with the seller and we can work with the buyer, but we're going to deal fairly. Okay, we know the buyer wants 270. We're not going to tell the buyer. I mean, we know the seller wants 270. We're not going to tell the buyer offer 270, right? Hey, this is what the asking price is, 272. What is the best offer that you're willing to give? Oh, you're willing to give 260? All right, let's make the offer for 260. Hey, we cannot say, hey, 260 is not going to fly because I know the owner is looking for this. That's not dealing fairly. That's putting the buyer in a position where we're not allowing them to place an offer. Okay, so we have to be fair. We're working both sides. We cannot take sides. Okay. Conditional termination. At the seller's request, the broker may agree to conditionally terminate conditionally, meaning both agree upon it, to terminate this agreement. If the broker agrees to conditional termination, seller must sign a withdrawal agreement and reimburse broker for all direct expenses incurred during marketing the property and pay a cancellation fee of $0. We don't have a cancellation fee. Okay, but if let's say the broker spent $200 advertising this property in different websites, the broker does have the ability to try and collect those $200 from the client. Okay. Dispute resolution. This agreement is under Florida law. Any controversies or claims to money do have to go through mediation. Okay, meaning if we can't come to an agreement within 10 days of the money, then we got to go to mediation. And if we don't agree with what the mediation states, then we all have to go to arbitration. Okay, everybody needs to sign this line stating that if we go to court, everybody is responsible for their own fees and that the buyer or the seller cannot hold us accountable for their legal fees. So the seller needs to sign here, the sales associate needs to sign here, and the broker needs to sign here. Okay. This agreement's binding on the seller and broker's heirs, right? If personal representative, administrators, everybody. So this can be canceled by any owner of the property. If the owner of the property decides they want to cancel it, they can. If the owner passes away, but their personal representative is appointed by the court, that person now has the ability to cancel this or continue with this listing. Okay, so the listing doesn't disappear. It expires when it expires, but if the owner passes away or there's a change of ownership because of heirs, this stays in agreement with their heirs and their personal representatives. Okay. Additional terms, anything additional that your client may want to list, they can, right? So if they do come up with the, hey, listen, if I find my own buyer, I'm only going to pay you guys half the commission. You can place that here. Buyer and broker, I'm sorry, seller and broker agree that if seller is to find their own buyer, they will only pay 3% commission to broker, right? If the seller says, hey, if you sell this within 30 days, I'm going to give you a bonus of, $1,000, make sure that's in here, okay? Seller agrees to give broker a $1,000 bonus if sold within 30 days. So anything like that should be here where it says additional terms, okay? Seller's signature, you're going to send this for e-sign. They're going to sign it electronically. That's perfectly fine. There's two sections here in case there are two sellers in the property, okay? And then, of course, we sign here, right? Either authorized sales associate or broker. I like to send this to the broker so that Linda can sign it. And then here, once it's signed by Linda and everything is executed, we need to go ahead and send it back to the seller so that they have a copy of the listing. Okay?
More than two sellers, like two owners of the property.
Right. If you go to the property search and there's two owners, right? Like here, Silvio, and then here, both of them have to sign here as well.
Got it. Okay.
See? Seller signature, seller signature. If there's only one seller or there's only one owner, only one signature needs to be done.
So what happens if there's like 3 or if it's something odd like that?
All three have to sign it. So one signature here, another signature right next to it, and the third signature here.
Perfect.
You
Okay.
can manually put the third signature.
Perfect.
Okay, any questions on this listing agreement? Cool. Okay,
Good morning.
hi, yes.
Yes, if the seller is married, but he's the only one on the title,
Uh-huh.
the wife needs to sign, the wife needs to sign too, or only the person that is on the title?
Only the person that's on the title.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so aside from that, I wanted to show you the other documents. Okay, so that's the sale agreement. Here's the property disclosure. Okay, the property disclosure, we cannot write anything on it. It needs to be filled out directly by the owner of the property. Okay, it'll automatically put the address of the property. Okay, but then all these sections here that need to be checked off, there's nothing we can check off. Okay, so once we set this up for e-sign, the system will automatically set this up for them to electronically fill it out. Okay, they'll be able to write whatever they want. They'll be able to check off any one of these boxes. Everything will be electronically for them to do it, but they're the ones that have to take care of it. Okay, so this is what the seller's property looks like. It just asks questions about the property, questions about the association, if there's an association, so on and so forth, right? And all these things need to be answered and then signed. If they don't have an answer or they don't know, there's a section here that says don't know. And they can just check off don't know, don't know, don't know. That is possible, guys. I have had property sellers disclosures with don't know straight across because the owner of the property is an investor and they've never lived at the property. They just bought the property and rented it out and they have no idea of what's going on in the property. Right? That is a possibility and you will see that eventually, okay? And the other one is the lead-based paint one, okay? It's not like your normal lead-based paint. It's just basically stating, hey, if your property was, you know, built prior to 1978, okay, you have to understand that if you know anything about the property and lead-based paint, if you've ever had any reports of lead-based paint, if you've ever seen anything concerning lead-based paint on your property, you need to let us know. Okay, usually it would be this one that they check off. Seller has no knowledge of lead-based paint in the housing, and seller has no records. So they just need to check that off. Again, if you notice, we cannot check it off. When we send it through electronic signing, it gives them the option to check it off here. Okay, here we can put our name, right? And then the date that we're giving it. If today's the date that they're going to sign, we put our name and the date that we're giving this to them, and they will be able to check off what needs to be checked off and then initial here. Okay, so those are the three documents that you're going to need for any listing. Usually it's just two. If it's a sale, it would be this, I'm sorry, not this one, the listing agreement, which we went over just now, and the seller's disclosure. Okay, those two always on a sale, no matter what, have to be given. Okay, the property was built before 1978. You also have to include this as well. Okay. Any questions on these documents that I just went over right now? Okay. So now I'm just going to show you the rental. Sorry, the lease agreement for a rental. Okay, the listing agreement for a rental. You're just going to put the word lease, okay, and exclusive right to lease agreement. Okay, this is the one you're going to do. Okay. It is exactly the same as the sale listing agreement. So I'm just going to kind of go over it a little bit. not very detailed like I was in the sales listing agreement, but you're gonna see it's really the same thing. Okay, so the lease agreement, it's gonna ask you for the same thing, who the owner is, okay, and the broker, okay, the time frame that it's gonna be the listing, okay, how many months is it gonna be? It's gonna have the address, the legal description, what appliances are included, same thing as the other one, right? The difference mostly in occupancy, okay? Before, if you notice, the sales one only asked, is there a tenant that's renting the property? The lease one asks if it's currently occupied by either a landlord or the tenant. So owner, or if it's being rented by a tenant. Okay, so here you do have to check off if it is occupied or not occupied so that we understand. Okay, if it is occupied by landlord, you don't have to put term expiration. If it's occupied by a tenant, then you put whatever the expiration of their term is. If it's not occupied and vacant, you just click is not occupied. Okay, here we go on the rental terms. This is pretty much the biggest difference between the rental and the sales one. You're gonna place it under what it's going to rent annually. Okay, if it's a month-to-month rent, okay, let's say you're only renting it for 2 months or 1 month, then you can go monthly. Okay, but if you know that this is gonna be an annual rent, the amount has to be put on annual. So if you're renting this property for, let's say, $1,500, just to give it, it's whatever it is a year. So $1,800. Okay, so here you're gonna put $1,800. I mean $18,000. My apologies. Okay, and click off yearly. You cannot click off 2 boxes. That's why you only have to do 1. Okay, so 18,000. If it's gonna be a weekly rent, you're gonna click off weekly, and you're gonna put whatever the weekly is. Okay, if it's a seasonal rent, you're gonna check off seasonal. You're gonna put what the seasonal rent is and when to when runs the season. Let's say your client comes down, has a rental property, and during the summer they like to come here to Miami and live here. So seasonally means they're gonna be renting it between September to May, right? Between May and August, the owners are gonna be living in it. Okay, so that's basically what season means. What's included in the rent? Okay, this rental amount of $1,500, what is included? Is there an association? Is association included? Is water included? Is electricity included? Whatever is included, you got to put here. What's included with this monthly rent? Okay, advanced rents. I usually put owner here. Okay, the only rent, we don't technically hold an advanced rent as a broker. What we hold is an escrow, and that escrow is basically a deposit, which once this property gets rented, it is our commission. So technically, it's not really holding first month's rent. What we're doing is we're going to put here that the owner holds advanced rents, deposits, and fees. Okay, usually in a non-interest bearing account. Okay, if it is an interest bearing account, we need to advise if it is an interest bearing account. Okay, but usually it's non-interest bearing. We have a non-interest bearing. Here is how you're going to split up everything. If the client is asking for 3 months, first, last, and deposit, we're gonna do advance rent, $1,500. Okay, security deposit, $1,500, and then here in other, or this one in other, we're gonna put last month, $1,500. Yes, this advanced rent could have both, right? $3,000. But in our office, our broker likes to see it split up in this way. They like to show security deposit, last month, and advanced rent. Okay, if you put $3,000 here in advanced rent, which would be first month and last month, they're gonna ask you to change it to please include last month here so that they understand and so that your client understands this is exactly how it's breaking down. Okay, just makes it easier for the client to understand, and it makes it easier for us as the office to understand. If there's a pet deposit, you're gonna put pet deposit and whether it's refundable or non-refundable and whatever the amount of the pet deposit is. If there isn't, you don't need to put it in. Credit report fee, if we're gonna be running a credit report for the client, we can place here a fee for us to be able to run a credit report, okay? If there's an application fee for an association, you're going to click here and put whatever the fee is. Obviously, you need to speak to the association and get, excuse me, their application to know exactly what it is, okay? And if there's anything else that needs to be paid, let's say association deposit that we know is like $500, or some buildings have a $300 elevator fee that needs to be held, you could place that here as well, okay? Association approval, application must be made upon lease agreement signing, right? So once we sign a lease agreement, the tenant needs to start with the application for the association. All right, and then here are the broker obligations. If you remember from the sale agreement, it was all listed in like a paragraph order. Here you have to check off specifically what the broker's obligations are, okay? Can we display a for rent sign? Yes, we're gonna check it off. They say no, we don't check it off. Use owner's name and connection. Never use the owner's name, guys, so I never check that off. If there's a lockbox that's gonna be used, check it off, that a lockbox is gonna be used. This one says request a credit check on prospective tenants at owner's expense. If the owner's gonna pay for it, then yes, you can check it off. If they are not gonna pay for it, then don't check that off, okay? Execute leases behalf of owner? No, we cannot execute a lease in behalf of the owner, okay? In order to do that, we have to have special power of attorney. We can write out the lease. We can include in the lease what, you know, is going to happen, how long of a term, who's the landlord, who's the tenant, the, you know, the fees that need to be paid, how, like all of that, we can fill it in, but we cannot sign it for the owner. That's what execute means, okay? Compensate sub-agents, yes, if we're putting it on the MLS, we can, and any other broker comes in, we need to check that off. Withhold offers to lease property once entering into a lease agreement. Sure. Why are we going to do a backup offer for a lease? If it's once we're in a binding lease agreement, that's it. That client has to go with the lease, right? Make a final inspection of inventory check. If you feel like you want to do that, go ahead and check that off. Complete lease forms as permitted by law. Absolutely. We can complete them. We just can't execute them. Complete and sign lead-based paint hazards. No, we cannot sign it. Okay, we can complete it, but we can't sign it. And those are the offers that we have. Then we click here, other, and we need to put place on MLS. Because if you notice, the sales one did have the area that said we're going to put in the MLS. For the rentals, it does not have that, so we do have to put here that we're going to place it on the MLS. Here's the advertising, okay? Virtual office websites, the same as the other one, if you guys remember. I would check this off. They don't, you know, just like the sales, they don't authorize estimate of market value. They don't authorize comments or reviews in their listings, okay? Then we have the owner obligations, okay? This is what the owner is saying that we can do, okay? They need to give us access to the property. How much access? One building access, one key, right? If they're going to give us a mailbox key and pool keys or a garage door opener, we need to advise what it is they're giving us, okay? Notify broker in the event that the tenant terminates the lease prior to lease expiration date. If, let's say we get into a lease, right? This listing is for 3 months, let's just say. We rent the property out on the first month, and then on the second month, something happens and the tenant needs to leave, we are still under this listing agreement because we had it for 3 months. It doesn't cease to exist until it expires in 3 months. So if they cancel that initial lease and he wants to re-put it in the listing or put it back in the MLS, because we have this signed, we can still do it. We don't need a new listing agreement. We only need a new listing agreement if the listing agreement has expired, okay? Again, inform broker of anything they're going to do to the property, that the lockbox is to the benefit of the owner and they are releasing us from any liability of anything that happens. Provide written approval or denial of any applicant who's a service member. That's why we check that off in the offers. Anything that is lead-based paint, you know, like they have to sign for us. Anything that they know that there's a problem with the property have to let us know, hold us harmless for any claims made to the property based on damages and stuff like that. Reasonably inspect the property before allowing to take possession, meaning we're going to do a walkthrough and you're going to know what's wrong with that property before that tenant takes possession of the property, right? That's why we have walkthrough forms. To make sure that, you know, there is no properties renting this property out to anybody in the area, okay? Like there's no legally, you cannot rent this property out, you know, to any minors because there is a sex offender that lives next door or something like that, right? Obviously they would know something serious like that. Compensation, owner agrees to compensate the broker. Now we're talking about the commission again, and here we go with the commission. What is usually the commission? It's usually 100% of the first month's rent, right? So we're going to check that one off. But if they're going to go with a gross value, usually it could be 10%, then we're going to check this one off and put 10% and not put this one. Okay, that's when you see some listings that say 5%, that's because they're going with a gross value as commission, okay? But most common is the 100% of the first months, okay? Time of payment, broker will deduct his fee within 1 calendar day. So once we are under contract and we're closing, that day of closing or that day of turning in checks and keys, we're going to keep our brokerage commission, our part of the commission, right? So the protection period, again, works the same way, 90 days, okay? Cooperation with other brokers. Here we're going to split whatever the 100% is. So if it's 50%, we're going to make sure we're putting 50% everywhere it says of the first month's rent, okay? And check off these boxes, okay? So 50%, 50%, and here 50%. Make sure it says of first month's rent, okay? Early termination, they can terminate whenever they want. There is no cost. We have this 90-day protection period once again. Dispute resolution, we went over it in the sales one. They need to sign here saying if it goes to court, they will pay for their own court fees. We will not be paying for their court fees, and everybody needs to sign here, okay? Owner, listing, and listing broker. And the brokerage relationship, how are we doing this? Well, we know we're always transaction broker, so we're going to click off the one that says transaction broker, okay? And again, this agreement is binding on the brokers and their heirs and personal representatives, just like the sales listing agreement was, right? Any additional clauses your client wants to put, like I mentioned before, please include it here. Make sure that it is included, okay? If it's not included, it's like it was never said, okay? And then they all sign same way. Owner, owner, you'll see 2 signatures here. Again, if there's 3 people, you can add a 3rd signature. And then the broker must sign this, okay? So this is the lease agreement. You'll notice it's very similar to the sales. The only difference is it's more of in a paragraph format, and you just need to check off the boxes. And it talks about leases instead of selling, okay? Any questions on this one? This one also will need, this one also will need the lead-based pay. If it was done, if the lease, excuse me, if the lease was, if the property was built before 1978, it will also need complying with lead-based paint. You'll notice this says seller or landlord. So whether rental or sale, this needs to be signed if built prior to 1978. You don't need the seller's property disclosure for leases. Seller's property disclosure is only for sales, okay? So that is the document or the documentations that you will need for any listing agreement, whether it be sales or listing, okay? Any questions on that before I move into how to plug it into the MLS? Okay, great. So now that we have sent this electronically, they have signed it, we've sent it to our company, or, you know, to Janelle or to Linda for them to sign. Now we can place it on the MLS. You can place it before they sign it off, but they are the ones that are going to upload into the MLS. Okay, we can put in the information on the MLS for the property, but we cannot upload the property to the MLS. The company, once they receive all the documents signed by your client that is needed for the listing, they will review it, they will make sure everything is okay, and once it's okay, then they will go into the MLS and approve the upload of the property, okay? But we have to put in all the information in the MLS. So if you go to Matrix, you're gonna go to where it says Add Edit. There's two areas you can go to. You can do it right here where it says Add Edit, or in the actual main page, there's another one that says Add Edit right here. Okay, so either one of those buttons will take you to add the listing agreement. So when you click on it, you'll see this page. And of course, this is a new listing. So you're going to go to Add New Listing. Then you're going to select what kind of listing you're going to do, right? If it is a single family home, you will click where it says single family. If it is a condo or townhouse, you will click where it's condo or townhouse. These two are only and specifically for sales, okay? I will say it again. Only select these two if it is a sale that you are doing. If it is a rental, you are going to go to residential rental. It doesn't matter if the rental is a townhouse or if the rental is a single family home. Anything that is a rental that is residential, you will go to residential rental, okay? I have seen many mistakes. You may have a rental property and it's a townhouse and you click on the townhouse and now nobody sees that rental and you're saying, man, I'm wondering why nobody's calling me for the rent. And it's because you put it under the sale. So obviously nobody's gonna see it. If it's a rental, make sure it's under residential rental, no matter what type of property it is that you're renting. If it's a sale, it's any one of these two. Okay, I hope I made that very clear for everybody. So let's go with the sale, okay? So sale, now it's gonna send you to this website and you're gonna select what county it's in. It's in Miami-Dade County. And then you're gonna put the property ID. That's what PID stands for, property ID. So where do you find the property ID? It is the tax ID, the folio number of the property, right? So we're just gonna copy this and just paste it right here, okay? And then you're gonna click search. What the system will do is search that tax ID and it's going to bring up, based on what it says on the IMAP records, that tax ID belongs to this property, right? And these are the owners. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. At that point, you're gonna click this button that says fill, okay? Once you press fill, then it's gonna take you to the listing site, okay? These tabs here are all the tabs you need to go through filling out what is required, okay? Now, when we go to the first tab, you'll notice that you'll see yellow tabs and you'll see blank tabs, okay? Everything that's yellow has to be filled out. It is required for the listing, okay? If you do not fill out something yellow, the system will not let you finish the listing, okay? The things that are white are not necessary for the listing. Although the more things you fill into this listing, the better informed their agents are going to be or the buyer is going to be when looking at the property listing. Why do I say that? There has been many times, I'm sure all of you have done searches, and you are specifically looking for how many parking spaces a property has, right? Well, if you go to the parking description, you'll notice that where it says parking, where is it? This one doesn't say, but you'll notice that it only talks about carport spaces, right? Garage spaces, but it doesn't say the word parking spaces. It just says parking description, right? So in our listings, for instance, right? I'm gonna open it in a new. When we're doing a search, well, it's only really for rentals. So hold on, let me go back. The reason I went to parking specifically is because that's one of the things that most people search for. So let me add edit really quickly on a rental. Wait. Let me add edit, open a new tab on a rental, just so you guys see what I'm talking about. Residential rental, mandate. Okay, so I have the rent. This is the sales one. This is the rental one. Okay, so let's go to the rental one and let's go to the parking area. And you'll notice that the parking info is white. It's clear. It's not in yellow, which means it's not needed for the listing. So most agents, when they're doing the listing, they don't put that in. So whenever we try and search for parking spaces, we can't locate a listing that has that. Why? Because they don't fill it in. But if you fill it in and somebody searches for parking spaces, your property is going to show up. My point is, even though it's not yellow, please fill in as much as you possibly can on the listing. I understand that it's time consuming, but the more information you have on this listing, the better search criteria is going to be given to those people looking for properties. Okay? And it'll have all the information there that is needed, and you're not going to get the agent calling you saying, hey, how many parking spaces are here? Hey, is there, is it waterfront? What type of water? The more you put, the better it's going to be. Okay? So, let's fill in the sale. Okay? Is this a short sale? No, it's not a short sale. Okay? If it is, you're going to put yes. REO means foreclosure. Is this a foreclosure? No, this is for the sales one. What's the list price? We went $272,599, right? That's what we had agreed upon. What type of property is this? Well, this is single family. Okay, but before I selected single family. So if this is single family, does it have a pool? Yes or no? If yes, you put pool only. If no, you put no pool. If it has a pool and it's by the ocean, you click pool with, you click pool with ocean access. If it's a pool, but there's no ocean access, you click here. WF means waterfront. If it's waterfront, ocean access here, yes. Waterfront, no ocean access here. That could be a lake, right? No ocean access means a lake. So this is how you're going to select what type of single family home, what it is, okay? If it's a mobile home, if it's a mobile home, you're going to select mobile home, right? So it's gives you all the types of house single family homes it can be, okay? It's automatically going to put the square footage because it's going to take it directly from the listing or from the IMAP portal, right? From miami-dade.gov. What type of property? Is it a mobile single family? You're going to put single. Front exposure. Which way does the entrance of the property face? I know it seems irrelevant, but some people really do care about this. I had a client once that his religion did not allow his property to face to the south. It needed to face to the north. So I could not show him properties where the front of the house was towards the south. So you'll be surprised, but there are a lot of reasons why this is needed. How do you find out? If you go to the property search in Miami-Dade of the property and you locate where your property is, in this case, it's this one right here, and the front of the house is this way. Okay, I know that because I've seen this house before. Here you'll see the sign that says north is this way, which means that way would be east. So the front of the house is facing towards the east. So I'm going to place front exposure east. Okay. Year built description will change to resale. Okay. HOPA, that is not association. That is Housing for Older Persons Act. If you know that is for older people, for people that are 55 and over, then you select verified. It's verified. It is. If you're not sure, you can put unverified. But if you're 100% sure that it's not, you're going to put no HOPA. Okay? Garage spaces. That is not parking. That is how many garages there are. Okay? If there is a one-car garage, there is one garage space. If it's a two-car garage, there's two garage spaces. If there's no garage, there are 0 garage spaces. Okay? If there is a garage, you put how is the garage? Is it attached or is it detached to the property? Okay? If there's a carport, right? That's a covered covered driveway or carport. You can place if there is or there isn't. If there isn't, then don't put anything. Okay? Is it attached or is it detached to the house? Furnished. Is it furnished? Is it unfurnished? Notice it's not yellow, right? But if you put it there, it's going to show it's unfurnished in the listing, right? Then we go to parking description. What's the parking description in this house? Okay, well, you know, in this house, there's other types of parking because, you know, maybe it's street parking. Maybe the parking is in pavers. You know, it's a circular driveway. It's a regular straight driveway, right? It's a slab, a strip slab on the house, right? Depending on what it is. Parking restriction, does the association restrict how many parkings? You know, yeah, no trucks or trailers here. Limited amount of vehicle because there's only, you know, one assigned parking, so limited number of vehicles. No RVs, no boats. Maximum amount. Here it'll tell you how many things you can select. Max 3, I've selected 3. If I only want to select 2, I'll just select 2. Lot description. How many acres is it? You know, less than a quarter acre. How will you know that? The square footage of the lot size, right? This one, it doesn't tell me, but it's a community. I just know that my property or that one property is only, you know, it's not even half an acre or a quarter of an acre. So I'm going to put that there. Is it waterfront? Yes or no? No, it's not waterfront. If it is, please put the description of what type of waterfront it is. Is it in the bay? Is it in a canal? Is it in a lake? Is it by the ocean? You know, it allows you to do 4. What type of water access is there? If it is waterfront, does it have a community boat dock? Does it have a boat lift? Right? Does it docks available? What view does it have? If it doesn't have a view, or you're not sure what type of view it has, click on none. There's no view. If you know there's a view of a lake, put a lake. If you know there's a lagoon, put a lagoon. If there's an ocean view, put ocean view, depending on what type of view it has, right? You have to select something, though. If you don't know what it is, just put none, okay? Is there a pool? Well, my house doesn't have a pool, but yeah, there's a pool, and it's a community pool, right? So what type of pool is it? It's a below ground pool, okay? You have to put the pool dimensions. This one is 20 by 30, okay? I'm sorry. 20 by 30. If there's a pool, you have to put pool dimensions. Is there a spa? Yes, there's a spa. Then it's going to go down here to features. Design, what is it, attached or detached house? Detached is usually for single family homes. If it's a condo or townhouse, it's an attached, right? What type of siding? CBS construction is what is used here in Miami, Florida. Okay. What type of floors are there? Tile floors. If you know that there's terrazzo, put terrazzo. If you know that there's marble floors, put marble. If there's carpet, put carpet. You can select up to 4. Okay. Design description. Is it half a duplex? Is it 1 story, 2 stories? You know, if this is a 2-story, there's a 0 lot patio. 0 lot means there's no windows on one side of the house. It's been remodeled, you know, substantially. It's an old Spanish design, right? They're twin homes. Just basically whatever it is, make sure you put it here, okay? So once you're done with this one, you're going to go to remarks. You'll notice, oh, whoops. Sorry. go to remarks, right? And then you'll be able to write the remarks. Okay, you'll notice the one that says internet remarks is the only one that's yellow. The actual broker remarks is in blank. So is regular remarks. So you don't have to put it, right? But I recommend you put it so that way more information is available in the listing, okay? So as you go through each tab, you're gonna fill out all the sections guaranteed that are in yellow and whatever you can fill out that is not in yellow, okay? I'm not gonna go over each one again, but you'll notice that each feature you'll be able to select whatever you have, okay? Yes, time consuming, yes, but worth it, definitely worth it, okay? Owner agent means if you specifically are the owner of the property, okay? If it's your property and you're selling it or you're renting it, you need to put yes here, okay? And you have to include the licensee property interest addendum, okay? If you're not, then put no, okay? But something has to be put there, okay? Then you go to rental information, and here's where you're gonna be able to put, the total amount. How long can you lease it for? 12 months. What's the moving cost? Well, what's 3 months of 1,500, 4,500 plus 100 in application fee? So 4,600, right? The application fee for the association is 100. Is it a renewable rental? Yes, it is. You put it there, okay? And then you can select any one of these down here. Is it a Housing for Older Persons Act? No, no HOPA. So here you're gonna select the other things, okay? What is the rental deposit included? See, last month, first month, security deposit, okay? That's if it's 3. This one up here is just first month and 2 security deposits, okay? So this is not first, last, and security. This is first month plus 2 security deposits. First, last, and security, you have to check them off separately, okay? If there's pets, click pets. If it's refundable, whatever it is, okay? What does a rental payment include? You're gonna select what it includes, right? But you'll notice this is white. A lot of people wanna know, what does the rental payment include? Put it in there, put what it includes. That way it's easier for them to know, okay? If you don't put it, then people are just gonna be calling and hassling you and asking you, well, what does it include? I need to know, does it include water? If you don't want that headache, just put everything you can here in the association or in the in the listing, okay? Then you go to office information, and in office information, it's gonna have your information, okay? Make sure everything is correct. It has your correct phone number. It has your ID, right? If there's a co-agent, if you're doing this with another agent, click here, and then it'll allow you to search for the other agent based on their last name, and then you can add them to the listing, okay? Compensation, do you want it on the internet? Yes or no? Okay, AVM, virtual offices. Remember we said no virtual offices? We put no. Blogging, we want things? No, no blogging. Address on the internet? Sure. Remember I gave you, it said, do you want to put the address on the internet? Yes, right? Listing type, we are exclusive right to sell or rent. Okay, then you put the listing date, today's date, the date that you're going to put it up on the MLS. Okay, and for how long? It's going to expire in 3 months. So we said January 2021. Whoops. Okay. Now we have the 3 months there. Owner's name, owner's number, never put that. Why do you want to put that? Then there people are going to be calling the owner, right? Compensation, this is where we split the commission. Okay, if this is a rental, half month, all the way down. Okay, if it's a sale, 3%, whatever it is that was on the listing agreement. Variable due rate, no. Occupancy information, you can put call listing agent, owner occupied, tenant occupied, or vacant, right? Let's put owner occupied. So here are the showing instructions. How can people request to see the property? Well, they have to call the listing agent, or if I'm using an electronic lockbox, I can put electronic lockbox, no appointment, right? If it's a regular lockbox, I can put regular lockbox, no appointment. Electronic lockbox would be the Supra, right? Showing assist, go to showing assist, and you can select if you want to see it there, right? Then it talks about renewal commission. Is there going to be renewal commission? No, there's no renewal commission. It's straight one time and that's it, right? So now we've pretty much answered all the tabs. So now we're going to click validate. And when we click validate, the system's automatically going to review the listing and say, hey, there are problems in these tabs. Okay? So when we click on the tab, it's going to take us to the problem area. Okay? Pets allowed? Yes. Obviously, I got to put, if I put yes, I got to put any restrictions, right? Because if I validate after doing that, now the pet restrictions one is going to turn yellow. So if I put yes, restrictions or possible restrictions, I don't know which ones they are. Okay? Then I click validate again. Oh, look, the red mark is gone. Okay, so I know that that page is good. I know this page is good. Then I just got to go to every other page that has the little red mark, finish those things that the system is saying I need. Okay, and then once I'm done doing that, I'll validate again and it'll be clean. Okay, then I'm going to save as incomplete. Why? Because as I mentioned before, we cannot upload the listings ourselves. The office has to upload it for us. So we save as incomplete, and then the system is going to give us a MLS number. Okay, and now we send the listing agreement signed by the owner, the seller's disclosure if it's a sale, the lead-based paint if it was done before 1978, right? With this number, an email to the office saying, hey, I have already put this in the MLS. Please review the documentation. Let me know if everything is okay, if you can upload it, okay? They will look at all the documents. They will get it signed by the broker if everything is perfectly fine. And then they're going to go into the MLS and they're going to upload the listing. Okay, it'll just be what you wrote in. But once you save the listing as incomplete, it's going to allow you at that point to add, edit photos, okay, or put in any attachments. And how you edit photos is you just click here where it says add edit, and then make sure the photos are downloaded into your computer. You could just browse at that point, click on whatever photos you want to select, okay? And then click open. And what it'll do is the system will automatically start to select the pictures. Boom, boom, boom. It'll put all the pictures that you selected from your computer. And then you decide which one do you want to be the first picture that people see when they open the listing. If it's this one, you just grab it from the actual tab and you move it, and then it'll just stick there. And you can change the location of where the pictures are and how the process will be. Okay? Once you're done, certify and save. Every listing has to have a picture, at least one picture. And if you do not have a picture uploaded within 3 days of putting up the listing, the MLS will send you an email telling you that you need to put one picture within 5 days or something like that, or you will get fined. So make sure you have at least one picture in any of your listings. The more, the better. If you have any attachments, okay, you can click on where it says attachment. You can choose the file that you want to attach. It could be the seller's disclosure. It could be association documents. It could be something important about the association, you know, I don't know, that they need a deposit or something. Whatever it is, right? You can click on it, whatever document it is, right? And boom, it'll be there, and then you can upload it, and now it uploaded into your attachments. You can put a description, association docs, right? And then save. And now that is stuck on your listing. So now when you go to the listing isn't up yet, but you'll be able to see what the listing looks like. You'll be able to see already the picture. You'll be able to see that the attachment was added on there, and you'll be able to see everything you wrote. You notice it's pretty empty. You see how none of the things that were in white are here, but most of the things that are in yellow have been automatically added. Okay? So that's how you do the listing, guys. That's how you set up listing agreements and how you do comparables. Do you guys have any questions on how to add a listing into the MLS? Okay, so I'm gonna be online for about another 10 minutes. I'm gonna shut off the recording, but if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them within these next 10 minutes. And thank you very much for joining the class. I hope you guys learned how to put in a listing and how to do comparables and how to do the listing agreements plus the other documents that we need, okay? If there's anything that you guys need based on listings or any, information, feel free to look back at this video tutorial, and you should get your answer there. But if you need additional answers, feel free to call Janelle at the office, and she will be able to explain any other document that you need, okay? All right, guys, thank you for joining me in the class today. Hope you guys learned a little bit. And again, I'll be here for another 10 minutes answering your questions.